Are we on? You must be
You
on.
are. You're here.
I guess I am. For everyone who is watching, I am Fabio Napoleoni, and I have been asked to interview Ben Olson for the Chuck Jones Creative Chat side. So I'm ecstatic that I was invited to do this. I'm honored because I personally, on a personal level, I like Ben. He's I think we're both the same kind of individuals. Plus, on top of that, I also have his artwork. I love this piece. It typically doesn't hang on my easel. It hangs proudly in my family room, where everybody that walks the door can see it the minute they walk in. So tonight we're going to talk about Ben and his relationship with Chuck Jones, how he got started in the art business, where he's at today, how he got connected with Chuck Jones. And from there, I hope it gets interesting and everybody watching enjoys it. Yeah, with that said, here's Mr. Olson. Cheers to you, my friend. Cheers to you. You've outdone me here. Size, wow. Does size matter? No. Right? No. Okay.
And if you think about it, right, like you always have one in hand. I can't get up to do anything, so this has got to last the full time.
Excellent. So I want to thank you for asking me to do this for you. Thanks, Scott, and everybody in the team who was also behind the scenes putting this together. I've had a pleasure working with them, and I'm honored that I'm here doing this with you.
Well, thanks, buddy. It's a huge treat. So to give the little background, I met you 20 minutes before doing a 2-hour interview with you. And I was just like, how do you say it's Napoleoni? And then bam, it was live, and you're like, you got 2 hours to fill, and I'm like, oh. So it just clicked, which was awesome. And then we did another one after that, and then the thing that was funny to me in a great way was the day after our first interview, I had started this Ben Olson art Instagram thing, right? And all of a sudden, like, you pop-ups like Fabio is following, and I'm like, oh. And I'm like, no. And so
you stop that. You stop that.
And I'm like, and follow back. And so, and that was, it was the start of something awesome. And it was an instant click thing, which was great. And I've enjoyed the last year has been hilarious. So thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure, dude. And it's in the same. I mean, I've heard about you through multiple people at Chuck Jones when I've been at events. They've always asked me if I've met you, have I been Chicago or wherever, if we've crossed paths, and sadly we haven't until that event, which today I'm sure none of my other galleries like to hear this, but it's probably the event that's gotten the most positive feedback. And I think it's just the interaction between you and I, the back and forth, the kidding around, the genuineness of just the joking that I think just got everybody excited. On top of that, you have, the whole Chuck family and everything else that goes along with that. It just created it was a good ingredient for a beautiful cake.
Well, that 2 hours went by extremely fast, and
yeah,
thankfully we got another chance to do it because I enjoyed every minute of it. And then I collect your stuff and have your stuff in, and it was a mutual appreciation because I admire and respect it. Like you've done something that I just think is phenomenal with your own stuff and blossomed into this thing. And we always talk about putting the work in, and man, do you put the work in. And I have such an admiration artistically and business wise for what you do as well. But just to know that you're a cool guy and we
awesome.
Can just nerd out.
I appreciate that. And maybe we should get down to the business of it all, because we could sit here and talk about each other all night long.
We could.
But I don't think Scott's going to go for that. I'll toot my horn, you toot yours. We'll trade horns. We'll toot each other's horns, and we'll go back and forth. But all kidding aside, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you, because I know you threw out some questions at me, and I was like, oh, that's a good one. So in return, we'll be showing the art here in a little bit. We'll talk about that. But I want everybody who's who may be watching now, who doesn't know who you are or knows who you are, or maybe some of the people from my fan page came over and are wondering who you are. Tell me a little bit, just a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, how you grew up with, what got you interested in art, and what drove you to make this sort of your career. What there's multiple moments in our lives where you go, you know what, I love this is what I'm going to do. Working with Chuck Jones, what I'm going to do, and continue. And what was that moment for you?
So there's to condense 41 years into about 2 minutes. It went from when I was young, I loved to draw and create with stuff. And I'm going to tell you that, teachers have an important role in things. And I had 2 teachers that sucked. And then I had 2 teachers that were awesome. And so my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Blackburn, do you see the scorn? I still remember her name. Right? So Mrs. Blackburn, I'm in kindergarten, right? And we got coloring pages and stuff, and I've got crayons, and I'm coloring with the stuff, and then I'm not totally in the lines, and then I take crayons and I layer over stuff, and I take scissors and I scratch out, because if you like layer crayons, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? And so I did that, and she said that I remember this, she said that mine, I didn't do it the right way. And so she put mine underneath, like she pinned everybody's artwork up where you could see it. Mine was underneath people's. Yeah, Mrs. Blackburn. By the way,
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, Mrs. Blackburn. Right? So
I got you.
Yeah, and I remember that, like that is ingrained in my head because I didn't color the right way, right?
Yeah.
So, and I did whatever. All right, fine. Skip to 6th grade, right? I'm in 6th grade. The only way to get into 7th grade art is for your 6th grade art teacher to elect you to 7th grade art, right? Because it wasn't like an open thing for everybody. So, I was into comic books. Like I had just gotten my first like Spider-Man comic, and I traded gum for it. And I'm into that. I'm into animation. Like I grew up watching, Saturday morning cartoons. Shucks for me were like to me, they were the funnier cartoons. Like it was, and then as I got older, they were even funnier. So I connected a little bit more. So anyway, I had all that stuff, loved animation, loved art, all that jazz. I'm in 6th grade art, okay? There's another Olson, no relation, right? Teacher's pet-ish kind of thing. Not really interested. If you got into 7th grade art, that was an easy A, right? That you just, whatever, you got into your thing. Dude, I'm not in for the easy A. I'm busting my tail. We're drawing with silver, like pens and pencils, and I'm doing all this art. And I'm like, I told my teacher, I'm like, please put me into the 7th grade art, right? I know this is what I'm meant to do. I just need to get in there, right? I don't even remember her name. That's how bad it is. All right, Mrs. Blackburn was a scorn. This woman, I don't even care, okay? Because she put this other Olson in, and I don't even remember the girl's first name, right? Because whatever, she wasn't really interested. It's just an easy A. So I got the whatever. I did not get into 7th grade art because my 6th grade art teacher told me it's not good enough for 7th grade art.
Though, in all reality, that there's moments in life where you hear things like that. I was told when I lived in Maine that my subject matter was not Maine enough. So
wait,
that's God's honest truth.
What is Maine enough? Is it lobster?
Not,
did you not do lobster?
Rocks, lobsters, puffins, and lighthouses. So it wasn't Maine enough. And I had this gentleman who worked with me who taught me how to do stained glass and basically taught me how to sell myself. And he tried to get me into brick and mortar galleries in Maine. And that was the thing. And I could tell when I asked him how would it go. And that's what he told me. And he was like, just don't listen to him. You'll find your path. And so, it does happen. People will turn you down. And
now you've got and now Marcinevo owns Maine. And you're like, maybe a lighthouse. I don't know. I don't know. So,
all right. So
I get
go ahead.
I was going to say, so I don't get into 7th grade art. Sad, sob story, whatever. But my 8th grade art teacher, now this is where it turns, right? So she can tell like I'm heavily into this. She lets me use all kinds of stuff that I never used before. And without telling me, I was always creating, and this is what I have such an admiration, like on many levels, but for a big one on you is you've created your own thing, your own line of characters. You developed this own thing. I love the stories behind it. Things mean things, right? And when I was in 8th grade, I was creating this little character. His name was like Zach. It was this cat thing or whatever. And I did these art pieces that were a little different. And she said, or she didn't say anything. She just submitted them for an award. And I got first place on both of them. And she came back with the awards one day and put them on my desk and said, "Congratulations, you got first place." And I was like, "On what?"
Yeah.
Like, on these pieces. And she just kept pouring into me and saying, "What would you like to do next?" I would always finish whatever project we had.
Yeah.
She let me play with other stuff. And I've tried looking her up, and sad to say, from what I found, like, she's passed away. And I'll tell you this one thing: if someone has ever made an impact on your life, please tell them that they've done something. Don't, like, I waited. I didn't realize I waited too long, in that, when I would tell these stories and stuff. And I really wish that I could have told her that, because she was a jewel of a woman, and my art teacher in 8th grade. And so then I get into high school, and I had two people. I had my counselor and I had my art teacher, Mr. Rohde. Mr. Rohde let me do, like, I first started getting into Photoshop in 1994, and working with that. He would let me use oil paints, all this kind of stuff. And I think we've got like two things. So I'm going to show one thing. Well, I'm not going to show the one. Let's go with Michael Jordan. So I'm in high school. I'm 17 years old. I got to get my portfolio together, and I'm doing all kinds of different stuff. And this is a 4-foot by 4-foot painting. And I'm a huge Bulls fan. Really, the dynasty. I grew up in that. Like, we would spray paint the logo on our, like, sandlot basketball court, right? I grew up when these guys were like reigning kings, and it was awesome. And so when he came back as 45, I wanted to do the Sports Illustrated cover, but I wanted to change it. So there's one thing in here that's not on that cover. And in the bottom right, Rodman was never around when he wore the 45. So I changed that up a little bit.
Good one.
It was actually BJ Armstrong, I believe, in that position. So I did this as an oil painting to say, like, could I do human stuff, right? Like, what could I push?
Yeah.
And I did, and I loved it. My parents had that one. And then and he let me use whatever. I would always finish the stuff, but he would literally say, "Use whatever you want." I built my own canvases. I experimented with all kinds of stuff, and he just kept that thing going. And I have a fly coming around here, which is ridiculous. Anyway, he's a fan apparently. And so when I was getting stuff together, I also, like, I love chalk, and I got into chalk. Could you show the chalk drawing, Scott? That one. So I did Buster Keaton, and then it's like a 24 by 36. And then I gave this to my counselor because she was instrumental in all 4 years of helping me to navigate, because she knew I wanted to be in animation. I saw Little Mermaid at the age of 10. My mom took me and my brother and one of her friends from work. And I remember being totally just enthralled with that opening scene of Part of Your World when Glenn Keane's animation. And I'm like, how do you do that? I want to do that. I want to make a living doing that. And so, you carry that through high school, and then letting me experiment with all kinds of stuff. Well, I did that chalk drawing. She helped me with schooling. I knew Ringling School of Art Design was my #1 choice, and I knew that my sophomore year. So I had a bunch of other schools, that were like plan Bs, but that's what I wanted. I put my portfolio together. I got in. Couldn't afford it, but I got in, and that piece I gave to her. She ended up passing away. I don't know, not a little bit longer ago. She died of cancer, which is sad because she was a wonderful woman. So I gave her that piece when I graduated high school as a thank you gift, and it's the best chalk drawing I've ever done. And I love the subject matter because I like silent film. I think that whole acting through like stuff, and there was so much character in his face that I'm like, could I pull this off?
Yeah, for sure.
And if I could pull this off in chalk, man, I could prove to myself that I'm okay. Like I can do this.
Yeah.
So that got me like into that kind of stuff. I don't end up going there. I go to college DuPage, which is a junior college. Great professors, because I couldn't afford Ringling. So great professors. I never graduated. It took me 4 years to not graduate from a 2-year school. And because my parents are watching, because my dad texted me to let me know he got on Zoom. They threw a graduation party for my brother and I. Now, Scott, can you show early life, please? So I just want you to see this. Yeah, you can put that up. All right, so there's me, right? Look at that little suit. Oh, that's adorable, isn't it?
Stellar.
And there's my brother. I just want to let you know, he never outgrew me, ever. I still have him by 5 inches, and he was supposed to be taller than I am. Never happened. So, and then you can see on the left, so my dad likes to refer to that picture and say, out of the two of us, right, we come from the same set of parents, but we are wildly different people. And that was I'm supremely proud of him because he got into the Air Force Academy. He graduated, he flew C-17s, he was in the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, that dude's done stuff. And he now flies for Southwest. He's a phenomenal guy. He's got 9 kids or 8 kids or 7, and a lot of kids, and adopted 4 of them. I think the world of him. But if you look at that picture, we're so different. And when we're in that whole community college thing, like he graduates from the Air Force Academy, right, and flies jets, right? I don't graduate from a community college, and I'm going to draw pictures. So that's going to be the path. But it was I realized by the time because I wanted to be an animator, that was a thing. I wanted to be an animator. I thought that was my stuff. Illustration, fine art, all that. And it really wasn't. I'll tell you right now, if I would have gotten the job as a Disney animator, which is what I wanted, I honestly think I would have been bored, and it would not have satisfied, because what I realized later, and this will tie into when we talk about the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity later, is as a creative, and this is what I tell students that I mentor, any talks that I give or anything, as a creative, I'm a creative first. And I love to get that out through painting and through drawing, and design, and through film and writing and whatever. I'm a creative first. Knowing that, and knowing that opportunities can pop allows me the flexibility. I am far happier now than what say if I would have got the Disney animation thing. I honestly don't think that would have worked, because I love this. I'm ADD and not medicated, and I'm like all over the place, right? And it's great because I flip between different things. And so it led into a career path where if you would ask my dad, and I know he's watching because my mom and dad are watching, if you would ask my dad when we were in our, I was graduating high school or college or whatever, he would have said that out of the two of us, who would have run their own business, been a chairman of a business organization and all this other stuff, he would have told you hands down it would have been my brother. Would not have been me, right? And not like in a derogatory way, but he's the guy who draws the pictures and stuff, right? My brother's that more logical mindset of things, and didn't turn out to be the case. So my path took a different way. And again, what the commonalities that you and I have is starting your own business and being a creative, but having a business mindset, and you got to put the work in, right? So if you want to make this as a career, this isn't something where like people are paying you to sit around and draw pretty pictures of stuff. And like, maybe when I feel inspired, I tried that on my parents once. When I finished that Michael Jordan, I'm like, I just have to feel inspired. It's, you don't understand. You're not an artist. You're not an artist. I have to feel inspired. And my dad was like, you better figure that out, because your deadline is in like 2 days. So whatever you have to do to get inspired. And so like, that side of my dad plus the creative side of my mom leads to where we're in now. And we can explore the Chuck Jones. So that's up to I was 28. Started my own company, started doing design work, and started making a living at it.
Yeah, so I pretty much have the same path. It's just I tried school. I was just had this fixation with music, and I wanted to try that. I went to school for music, and in the course of it, I was doing well, more of the electronic dance stuff, and it just didn't pan out. But the thing that always was there in the background for me was art. And in the process of it is this little dense here, it's skull a little thick. So through the 90s, pretty much I try to make a go of something that I knew deep down inside my heart wasn't it. You know what I mean? So same as you, I went to school, I tried it didn't work out, but the entire time art was there. I was making money selling art and goofing around, not really taking it serious. And then it just, it happened. And I think, if Nicole was in here, she would just say, the one thing you have to do is if you need to have a project done and you you usually go to sleep at 2:00 in the morning, and it means you have to go to bed at 6, and you go to bed at 6. And it's a drive that makes specific artists successful. I think it's a drive, even if you're tired or you may not know all the techniques or that you were taught or you learned or you've learned through the School of Hard Knocks or whatever. But I think it's a lot of trial and error for me, where you learn certain things and then you're like, oh, that's not going to work. This is going to work. And it just does. And I think at the end of it, just like you said, you have to have a drive. You have to not necessarily want the success, but you want something to work for you, something you could show that's there. And then through the mistakes over and over and over and over again, there's a spark of something that's wonderful. And then you work with that. And then that one little spark turns into something. And then it just goes from there. You just have to, but you're never going to get to that spark unless you've made a bunch of mistakes and you sort of learn the hard way.
Well, like when I was 20, 28, so I got into design. I didn't go to school for that. I got a job being like a sketch artist, and which was kind of design. I learned. I had some great people that I was working with, learned on my own. And you're right. The whole thing was I want to make a living. I'm not looking to get rich.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make a living doing what I love doing. And then I feel very strongly about like not just keeping it for yourself. You must continue to use this to affect other people in a positive way. So, when I found that through the design stuff, I started, you want to talk about some dude, I don't know crap about networking, right? I'm 28. I don't know crap about networking. I don't know crap about business. I just know that I can design stuff and people would pay me money for that. And I figured out the invoicing thing. That was good, right? So I start out in like, I'm a pro, you'll love this. I go from like, I leave this job as a sketch artist after a couple of years. I get this job as a product designer for men's fashion for cell phone accessories. Hey. And it's in 2008, and it's when the iPhone is just about to drop, which is going to, all that flip stuff that we had in the hip and all that stuff is about to completely change. And the market is about to royally crash.
Oh, yeah.
So it does. And dude, I'm in New York City for Fashion Week, which was awesome, right? But I'm in there for like I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for like a men's hip case, right? And I get to design, and then there's like guys that will make it in the same place. So it was fun, it was cool, and I had a couple of freelance clients, and then I got laid off, and then the company ended up, and so I remember like there was one guy, Dennis Newber, and his son Keith, who are very good friends of mine, and he was running this like mortgage business that they had, and he said, hey, I need branding for all 3 companies and all this kind of stuff. I said, okay. And he's like, how are you doing? Like, I was a senior level designer applying for entry level designer positions and couldn't get those because creative directors were applying for senior level and mid-level designer positions. Mm-hmm. There was just nothing. We are the first department to get axed. So like, I couldn't find squat, right? I was looking at DHL and being a driver or whatever. Like my job out of college was taking pictures for Auto Trader, which was funny. But it's, I get into this thing and he's like, okay, how much would this cost? And I tell him how much it would cost if I did it all. And he goes, okay, here's the first half. And that was in 2008. I was already incorporated. I had figured out that I joined the Schaumburg Business Association because I didn't know squat about what I was doing. But I went to this like business expo thing and I'm like, oh, I need to do that. Like whatever this is that y'all are doing, I'm like, I need to figure that out. And I need to figure out real quick that I don't need to talk about myself and what I need to do for other people. Like just find the relationships, right? Really invest in other people. Watch what happens after that. So Sue Keener, who I love to death, really ushered me in through things. And I'm a 28-year-old kid essentially at that point. Like I view myself kid in business, and I start doing things, and and I get involved, and I donate some design here, and I do whatever. But anyway, Dennis like gave me my first shot to do something on my own, and I started. I knew nothing, man. Like how do you start a business, right? And just do it. And so I did it, and I got in, and it developed. I ended up becoming I ended up getting invited on the board, which I never asked for, and I didn't know why. I was invited. I'm like, you understand, right? Shells, jewelry, and all. Y'all are in suits. I don't wear suits, right? Do you see this t-shirt? That's my dress attire. I wear flip-flops. I don't wear shoes on the golf course. I go barefoot. So as long as you guys understand what you're getting here, that's fine. And I ended up like being invited on the executive committee and then becoming chairman at 35, which is freaking hilarious, like in a good way. But I say that all to say I was around great people like George Rosturis, Mike Erickson, and all these guys I shared an office with, and I learned, and they were really great and very generous with their time, right? Just helping me through stuff and learning things and decisions, and maybe you should think about that. And then I would ask questions and they'd be very honest. And so you kind of move through, and then in 2018, Scott, can you show the logo picture? So yeah, that one. So in 2018, I ended up doing the bicentennial logo for the state of Illinois.
Oh, wow.
So there's me and the governor, right? That's the governor of Illinois at the time, and myself. And there were a bunch of guys that threw in for this. I ended up getting the pick, and my name and my company's name, Three Monkeys and Aardvark Studios, is in the Abraham Lincoln National Library. So, you know, it's just like that was a moment. And Shell's t-shirt, I actually have a Chuck Jones t-shirt on in that, which is underneath my shirt. And so, you know, it was one of those things that were, you know, I see moments, and you know, this is where faith plays the key, right? And I don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe in any coincidence. I don't think things are just luck. I think things are there for a reason. Even if it's a small reason, it's still there for a reason. And I would watch God put these things in my life and say, okay, here, not here, here, not here, you know, and then to see, you know, like sometimes I would walk right off a cliff, and that was dumb, you know, and then there's other things where he would open doors. And so like all the credit goes to him in this, and how he just unveiled this, because, you know, my talent's not my own, it's a gift, and I need to be a good steward of this gift. And that means not keeping it to myself. It also means that he provides opportunities like that. So it was just awesome. And to see, I'm 13 and a half years in now to running my own business. And as you know, running your own business, we make a living doing what we do, but the work that goes into it is intense. We don't have 8-hour days. You know, we don't have 40-hour work weeks. We live a lifestyle that's a creative lifestyle. And in doing so, that means that our brains are always on, and our families have to just kind of hopefully go with the flow, you know. And it's, you got a whole bunch of kids, I got a whole bunch of kids, you know, and it's to weave that in that whole thing, you know, and to find that is pretty awesome. And so I would say, like, from there till now, right, now, and getting the opportunity, I'll bring it to May of last year, but I feel very blessed because even in the hard times, right, he's always taking care of things, and that doesn't mean that I got anything for free. That just means that, like, I know that I'm not in control, and I'm okay with that. And so, and it's a release, dude, because I'm not sitting there freaking out about all kinds of stuff. And so, like, last March, when everything went to crap, right, I lost 80% of my business for the rest of the year. It was gone. I didn't lose any clients, but I lost every project. I lost every project that was in the thing. And my business, right, which I raised my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old, and I have since they were 2.5 months old and 5 weeks old. They come with me to the studio every single day. So I changed my mindset on things, and it's just us, and we do things. I don't need to make as much money. We just need to make a living. But, you know, last year wiped out. That's it. Done. Yeah. July. Do you know what I had for deposits in July? 0. And in that, and this is what I love about, I mean, I love a lot of things about Craig, and I'm not just saying that because I can see him on the screen right now. But, handsome fella. Right, he is a handsome fella. And but here's something that, like, that dude, and I have a great respect for him on so many levels, just like I do you. But it's all about like, we're entrepreneurs. We're all entrepreneurs. So what are you going to do? Are we going to quit? No, we're not going to quit. Like, I'm not doing this to quit. I got a lease. I got 4,000 square feet of studio space. I got a mortgage. I got kids. I got all this. We're not quitting. Like, we're going to figure this out. And, you know, Craig would come up with stuff and be like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, all right. Yeah, we could do that. You want to teach classes online on this thing called Zoom? What's doing? I don't know. And so what was awesome about that is it got into these Creativeside chats, and he had like I interviewed him for the first one, and then we got into a couple, and then I ended up getting one out the first. And I had like two pieces. And I'm not kidding when I said like fine art to me was something that I love doing, but I haven't done in a long time on a regular basis. Even my drawing and my sketching, I would mentor students, but I wasn't sketching a ton. I wasn't, I was designing a lot because that's where the main money was in design. So, so I had time on my hands, and I had two pieces, and we started with that, and that was cool. And then they're like, hey, we're going to do this Comic-Con thing. And I had like 3 weeks. And he said, we got this slate of people, and there's like Willie Ito, and there's Fabio Napoleoni. We want you to interview Fabio and whatnot. And I'm like, what? And like do these things. And I'm like, oh, you want me? Okay, I'll do that. And then we're going to have you on Sunday. And I said, I have nothing new. Like the amount of work I've done in the last year, if you just take that, I've done more than in the last 10 years. And that's no joke.
Wow.
Insane. And so, again, opportunities. So we ended up with that week. I put in like 6 or 7 concepts. They approved a bunch of them. I started paying. Then I get to you. And this is where, it's again, no coincidences, right? In this. And so what I've been very grateful is I've been with the Chuck Jones Center for a long time. I've been with the gallery now for almost like 7 years or something. And I love working with them because you can, like, first of all, they're quick to respond on concepts, because as you well know, Fabio, on other IPs, it can take a long time. Like I could grow this out to here, right? And so they're quick to respond to things. They give great notes, and they really do. Like that whole persona of Chuck, which is this constantly creating thing. They live that, so it's awesome. And they let me go with some stuff, and then I get to you, and we speed dated for like 20 minutes. And
true,
fact. Yeah, and we're like, hey,
that's a fact. I like windy walks. I like cocktails, holding hands on the beach.
Yeah, like, so do you like art? And like, I like art, like what kind of things do you like? Okay, so what kind of food is your favorite? Oh, okay, that's great. Just setting it simple, and we have 20 minutes before they're like, you're on for 2 hours. And getting to know, I didn't know a whole lot about you. And then I did a little bit of research on the front end. And then I started getting into things. And what I liked about the artist to artist thing was like, I got questions about what you did. And man, what you opened up with about what you did, how where you got to stuff, like I just sat there, and it was like hanging out with a guy that you had an instant respect for, and an instant admiration for, and be like, dude, like the art, the everything, like we live this lifestyle that's creative. It's not a job, and just you as a person and how you are, I'm like, you're easy to get along with. So that kind of propelled this thing to where I just keep creating stuff. But I got inspired off our first interview, and when you explained more of what Marcinivo meant, and then your other characters, and why you put certain things in things, and your intentionality, right? And what I loved is your intentionality, and it's your own thing, right? And you develop that, and then you get to use your own thing to create stuff for Looney Tunes and this other stuff, and I'm like, man, that's awesome. So that was an inspiration off me and helped to catalyst. I'm like, all right, I'm like, I know this is happening for a reason. I still make money doing design, but I've been given this opportunity. So let's see what happens. And
cool.
A year later, June 3rd, here we are. And you're hosting.
It's I've said it 1,000 times. Working with Chuck Jones is probably, it's on top of my list of achievements. Even with opening my own gallery, still I look forward to it every year. I like that. I grew up watching it, on Saturday mornings, and just knowing the character. Who doesn't know Bugs Bunny? Who doesn't know Marvin? Who does? It's they're iconic for a reason. And to have the ability to create and work with them is just something that I could just do that forever. And the fact that they let me incorporate my characters or put Chuck's into my world is again, I mean, I brag about that. That's just that's the thing I enjoy, and it's I just do. I enjoy it. And I'll continue to do it until these guys are like, "Hey, we're sick of you and your puppet, get out of here." So,
just I got to jump in for a second because just so we're clear, that will never happen. So thank you. I'm just gonna throw the gauntlet out there, and now that you kind of both brought it back around to Chuck Jones, I get the opportunity to I think, Ben, you mentioned it about, Mrs. Burnside, that you never had the opportunity to tell her that she totally, inspired you, not in the right way, but she inspired you in a way. But, and also that you should let people know when they do make an impact in your life. And so, Ben, first and foremost, because I met you first, you definitely have made an impact in all of our lives, in the Chuck Jones family, in the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity, and me personally, because, I got a bro bond with you before you and Fabio did. I don't have the art side, but we did get a bro bond in a lot of ways.
He's stealing my thunder. He's trying to claim it.
No, just so we're clear, you so stole it way beyond whatever else is there. I just, I still hear the stories. Every time I get together with Ben, it's like, hey, you know what? I was hanging out with Fabio the other day, and so it's an ongoing thing. It's just like, I used to be hanging out with Craig, but now I'm going to be hanging out with Fabio. But, and Fabio, as we've evolved our relationship over the years, with you and the artwork and what you do. And, certainly we started representing your work way back when you were with other, publishers and when you first started. And I think the thing that really has meant so much to me is how you tell a story from deep inside you. And I think that's been what, really resonates, what you're talking about, Ben. And that was getting, knowing my grandfather and how he created film and art. And it was always about, finding the deepest part of who he was, whether it be a cartoon character or a painting or a story or writing, and expressing that to the best of his ability. And that's where I fell in love with the artwork and the story, and you as an artist, and that you do that so well. So I will say that is the bond certainly there. So you've inspired me that way. And then getting back to you, Ben, as far as what's happened over the last year, I knew you could paint. I know you could draw. The design has always been there, and the creativity and all these ideas bursting out. But what taking a quote from Chuck, I would say, what I've come to realize over the last year is you can paint your ass off. And that is literally what Chuck would say when he saw somebody who could paint. He'd look and he'd go, that guy can paint his ass off. And, looking at what is behind me, and I picked this one on purpose. There's so much to this painting. And when I saw it in person for the first time, I was just like, wait, is that Ben? What? And this was part of your evolution. And so you continue to astound me. And as these images come up, I'm just like, the concepts, I get to see it from the very get-go, because you're right, and you can't say that we are responsive. You can say that Robert is, let's say, attentive. So he makes sure that we all stay on track. So thank you, Robert, for continuing to do that. And so it is a thing, but it's easy when you see something flowing out of you, Ben, where it's just like, okay, this is a gag. This is a great gag. There may be some character comments there. We want it all to be within the Chuck Jones family of character. Yes. And not every artist does that, but each of you certainly, brings the Chuck Jones characters into your world, which is what we as the family want to see in any
Mhm.
great artists to incorporate. It's not, don't become Chuck Jones. Chuck never wanted more Chuck Joneses out there. He wanted to inspire people to be who they are. And if you get to play with Looney Tunes characters that he created, more power to all of us. So, yeah. So
Exactly.
anyway,
Exactly.
I'm going to hand it back over to you guys.
Yeah.
But that is just fun for me to watch what you guys are both doing.
Yeah.
And I look forward to getting back in person,
Cool.
you know, as soon as this fall, because we're getting there.
Cool.
We're getting there.
I'm out by you September, that first 2 weeks of September, and I am totally looking forward to that.
Yep. We got the Red Dot coming then. So hopefully everybody will be there for the Red Dot celebration on September 11 for Red Dot 11, because that's going to be a fun one. 11 and 11.
I haven't figured out what I'm going to do yet, but it's probably going to, I know I can't say it because we're not supposed to say it because it's supposed to be a secret. Anyway, yeah, something. So hey,
Ben, talk about your artwork. Yeah.
I wanted to, we can pull up some pieces here in a second. I wanted to get, Fabio, we had a bunch of questions. So there's a young lady here, Amaris, and she started following me on Instagram and is a big Looney Tunes fan, does her own characters, very cool, and like in her own interpretation. And I ended up speaking to her high school art club through Zoom, and they're down in Florida, like on the East Coast side of things. And so her question was, what's your favorite Looney, to both of us, what's our favorite Looney Tunes characters and why? I'm going to start with you. Who do you have a favorite?
Man, you know, I love that little chicken hawk. I don't know why. Even when I liked the fact that he was just short and powerful and just didn't really care. Probably, and in Duck Dodgers too. I can't really, you know, it'd probably be easier to pick one that I don't, but it's probably some obscure background character. I like them all. I think the thing about all the characters, they have their own, specifically with that one, it's a little tough guy, or doesn't matter how big Foghorn is, he's just there. And it just, the gangsters too that were done, all of them are fantastic. Just I still today, I think those cartoons would be successful. I think some of them, you know, they're a little, with all the wokeness that's out there, and some of it, you know, wouldn't fly, but I think it would still be appreciated by people that enjoy that type of humor. I think it's fantastic. Bugs Bunny coming out and smooching Elmer Fudd in the face is fantastic. I mean, that's just leaving lip marks all over his face, and he gets all upset and chases them, but then he falls for it again. Again, he gets smooched all over and gets hugged, and you know, I love them all. And I mean, it's whenever Scott gives me a list of characters to go through, I always have a hard time. I'd love to paint them all, but I can't. So I try to pick the ones that just instantly, Mark Anthony and Puss in Boots, that little cuddling scene is just something that you just doesn't leave your mind. It just stays there. You know, the instant you see it, you're drawn back to being 6 or 7 years old, watching it and watching that little cat. I'm not a big fan of cats, but for some reason I love that little black and white one. It's fantastic. So, they're all good. I mean, I can't really pick one.
So I'm gonna use this as a segue for an art piece. Scott Ryder, can you pull up Puss in Boots, or not Puss in Boots? That's DreamWorks. Can you pull up Mark Anthony, please? So I did a thing like my favorite. Yeah, that one. So I've got this one. Like you have Fabio has in the line of in this Picasso line. And so I love that whole cartoon and that whole sequence because I think it's hilarious. And like, how can you not feel for that dog, right? And so this was the original, like it's anything on here. I think if it's an original, you get the concept sketch, which is usually the later stuff is half the size. So it's if it's a good size painting, it's a good size drawing. But anyway, I love that scene. And then if you can get to, I don't think I have any Marvin stuff left because all of that is sold, but there's Marvin is my favorite, and there you go. So steampunk. Oh, and we're gonna get to this at the end, the steampunk thing, because this is a thing, and it's not a small thing, it's a big thing. So I did this for a red dot. I don't know how many years ago, and it ended up becoming a limited edition, which is awesome. And like it sells, I signed stuff, that's great, I love this, and it became a thing. And I looked at Marvin, it's like, man, like what if this was like a sci-fi steampunk world? So like there's so much to Marvin, like is he the villain or is he, you know, or not? Because in Duck Dodgers, like they're both trying to take over stuff, and he just, everything blows up. Every planet, every surface that he's on blows up. And I think it's hilarious. So Marvin is one of my favorites because I love Chuck's, for one, it's an original Chuck character. And I love his like mashup of Spartan this whole thing. So that's kind of my, like Marvin, I would have to say, even though Daffy to me, like I love Chuck's comment of like, we all want to be bugs, but really we're all Daffy. And I'm like, that is so true. I'm like, we're that guy.
Yeah.
We think of ourselves and then it turns out that's not the case. So real quick, John Boy, who would win in an arm wrestling match, Porky Pig or Daffy Duck? I'm going to say Porky because I think Daffy would himself, and Porky would just, it would be that laughing sequence, which is the best laughing sequence ever in Robin Hood Daffy, which is one of my all-time favorites. And he would get outmatched. Like he wouldn't even realize it happened, and it happened. And then Mike asked, will your Bugs Bunny jersey be used in the minors this season? Am I allowed to say this, Craig?
Oh yeah, we're in. You're good.
All right, so I'm gonna hold it up. Are you ready? So
I'll make it happen.
So for our Chuck Jones big draw, right, which we're doing out here, this is the Bugs Bunny jersey.
Sweet.
It's celebrating his 80 years, right? It's custom carat numbers. It's the whole thing, 1940. And as a bonus, the Southern Illinois Miners will be wearing Elmer Fudd with dynamite custom numbering. These have been approved. They're gone. They're off. They're being promoted. So, Mike, yes, both teams wearing jerseys
amazing.
will go up for auction. What's awesome about this is they auction off the jerseys. It benefits the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity Chicagoland and all the programming here. So, yes, and all that good stuff. So, getting to, I think Mike's going to shoot, or Scott's going to shoot us so we don't talk about artwork too. So, there's, you know, to your point on like creating stuff, right? I treat paintings like I treat design work. There's deadlines, and you've got to hit deadlines. You just got to do it. And what I found very cool is, am I going to make a steampunk series? Yes, Buell, and I'm about to get to that. So hang 10 for a second, because this steampunk's about to go like nuclear. But in the painting of things and creating of stuff, I grew up on Chuck Jones, and you know, like there some Rob McKinson stuff is good, and you know, loves Tex Avery style and all that kind of stuff. But I really understood that, you know, when I was in high school and I rented, or I checked out from the library Chuck 'Em Up, and page 159 or 160 is Drip Along Daffy, and I remember like seeing this cover on the shelf and saying, who that. I love that. How does he do that? And I started reading his book, and I was, I don't know, I was a freshman in high school. So this was 1993. And I was drawing sketches out of there, and I was learning. Chuck was teaching me without even knowing, without ever meeting me. He was teaching me things. And I have both books. I have Chuck Amuck and I have Chuck Redux, and I love those books. And I go through their dog-eared, their comments and stuff. But Scott, if we could, we'll start with Sheriff Wanted, if we could, please. So the first drawing I ever did was Drip Along Daffy, and because Daffy was like, I'd watch Robin Hood Daffy and Duck Dodgers, and those are some of my all-time favorite cartoons. And so this one, which is new, and hey, could somebody grab me that canvas for me, please? So this is Drip Along Daffy, and what I loved about this, there's a lot in it that's about me. So the jail is actually the jail from Bodie, Colorado, or California. It's the third largest ghost town. I went with really good friends of mine, Kenneth and Curtis, and we all went up there, and Chris Raker, and we shot that one day, and they took pictures. Kenneth and I, those two are photographers. Kenneth and I are artists. We painted. and did this thing, you know, and I love this jail. It was so unique. And then Scott, if you could go to the jail, and so my wife is Vanna, if you hold that, like, hold on.
Where's my wife when I'm doing shows? Like, what?
Yeah.
I tease.
You
I
gotta do
tease.
it. So, all right. So this is my watercolor painting that I did at Bodie, Colorado, or California. And I love that. So when I got into this piece, it was the jail in there because he wants to be the sheriff. So there's a couple of key things in this piece. For one, I went there. I love this place. Two, like Monument Valley is in the background. Three, if I was to encapsulate the cartoon into one frame, it's him walking in on his glorious horse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reins dragging on the ground, and he's got his sheriff's star, you know, as he's showing, because he's going to take the reins. And really, the guy to get it is on the donkey, right, with the stubble, and he's holding this little soldier, and the soldier is the one that does it for the whole thing. So that's the whole cartoon to me in one thing, and I wanted it like this wide panoramic, and I love southwestern colors and sunsets and landscape. Mm-hmm. So I've got Snakebite Center. Yeah, there it is. It's looks down there. So that's the painting on there. But it just, there's so much. So this is my homage to the very first drawing, the very first sketch I ever did out of Chuck's biography, Chuck Amok. And that was when I was a freshman in high school. So that's that piece. Now, skip a little forward and let's go to Detour if we could. There is something about Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner, and I love Chuck's explanation in his book when Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, was it Leon Schlesinger that was like, this is the dumbest thing ever, it'll never work?
Eddie Selzer.
Eddie Selzer. Okay, so it'll never work, right? Like like there's no talking and whatever, like a coyote's chasing a roadrunner or whatever, and they do it, and they just go ahead and they do it. And what I didn't understand at the time was his timing and how the timing like gets faster and how he does which makes it funnier. So I've always loved the Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner cartoons because I crack up every single time. So Detour, which is that one, yeah, that I literally just finished 2 days ago. So in this piece, this is in the Grand Canyon as you're going under one road, and I forget what the road is, but what I wanted was the tunnel painting, and we always see like a truck coming out or a train coming out. I didn't want that. All I wanted you to see was the headlights and to know that the reflection on his feet and the paint cans gave you all that you needed to know that something was coming out of this painting on the wall. That's it. I didn't want it to be any more obvious, but I love the colors in all of this. And then of course, Roadrunner's, he's just there and he's like, he does nothing, right? It's all about what Wile E. Coyote does to himself. So fast forward a little bit more. I'm trying to I'm making Scott happy right now. So I wanted to get into like different surfaces, right? And you know, here's my skate decks, but not to use a skate deck just to paint something on a skate deck. So like if he was to ride this thing on his jet shoes, right? What would it look like? So I wanted to do a skate deck in the pop art style like you've got behind you, and this was, I'm like, let's just try it and see what happens. And
that's
so
cool.
And then
cool.
He never outruns the Roadrunner. He's fast. So I just wanted him peeking over, being like, "Meh," right? So skate deck, all that kind of good stuff. And then
yeah, that's cool.
And then
that's cool.
To tie into the other piece that I finished. I have a couple other works in progress, but and then we'll get to the steampunk stuff. But this one behind me, and like I love Superbugs, and what I love about like Batsuit Wiley and Superbugs and Stupor Duck, right, is they're in their own costumes. You're not putting Looney Tunes characters as Superman, as Batman. You know, you're putting them in their characters for, you know, in their suit. And so this is from an Alex Ross cover. I love Alex Ross. I have a great respect for him and the work that he does. Like that dude brought comic art to a totally different level, right? And so this is based off his like Superman 2, I believe, cover. And I wanted this like carrot power because that's what gives him all the juice to do what he does. And I wanted him just hovering over the city. So if you look at Alex Ross's Superman cover, and then this is where the inspiration came off of for Superbugs. And he's been in the studio with his family, and they were hanging out and doing some stuff. And what I wanted to mention, and why this is an homage to him, and like my appreciation for him, is not only is he a great artist, but he's just a super nice guy. And his family's really great. And I had asked him if he would be able to do a Red Dot piece for us for Red Dot Chicago to raise some funds. And I said, if you're busy, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And he was. I mean, the dude's producing all kinds of stuff. Well, a year later, I got a text from a mutual friend of ours who are good friends of mine. And I got some of them in the studio tonight hanging out. He's like, hey, you remember that comic book artist friend of ours? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, he felt bad about not being able to do Red Dots. So here's like 30 artist proofs signed to raise money, like for the foundation.
Wow.
No strings attached. Just do it. And I'm like, what? And so, you know, we've been able to raise thousands. I've shipped to Italy, man. I've shipped to Italy for guys finding stuff. And so this is my homage to Sir Ross and his style. I'm not an Alex Ross, right? I'm Ben Olson. And so I can't do things at his level.
It's, I saw that Tuesday and it did not look like that.
No, it didn't.
It was blank spots.
Yeah.
There was a sky,
yeah.
There was a cape, and there was some gray rectangles at the bottom.
Yeah.
So between then and today, you have completely filled, created a face. I remember you saying like, I got to do some like windows, the buildings down here, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I was like, he's going to get that done and that done and that done. And I'm like, he's out of his mind because he's like not going to sleep for like 3 days. But you managed it. It looks amazing. It looks good. It looks really good. And Alex Ross, you're 100% correct. I have a Hulk piece down my hallway. I have about 6 or 7 Hulk pieces. A couple of them were done by him, including one of them I think is a sketch. And it blows my mind every time I walk out of my wife's office. And then you walk out, I think it's like 4 feet tall. Just the muscle tone, the facial expressions, the details in that print are off the chart. So I can't even imagine what it would look like in the original in person, because it's like he's almost crawling out of that canvas. It's scary. It's amazing.
He does photo reference. That's what kills me.
It's like he just like it looks so the sweat on his arm and coming off his brow.
Yes.
It's amazing. And then I think I have a sketch. Yeah, it's a sketch of his too. And that's pretty cool too, because I know that, we get concepts and you and I will draw concepts. And I've seen some of yours on and people love those concepts. And I look at it, I'm like, this thing is like 10% done. So I look at, the Hulk and then I see the finished product and I'm like, man, that's insane how it goes from this little doodle to something that looks like it's literally going to crawl off my wall.
And like in gouache, like I don't work in gouache, and it's only because I haven't tried it. And like working in gouache, and I'm like, when he was in there, I'm like, why gouache? Like, I'm just curious, like, what is it that you like? And he's like, that mix between oils and acrylics, or like oils and acrylics and watercolors. It's like that mix. And I'm like, huh. So like eventually I have to suck it up and buy a gouache thing and then, do that stuff. So I wanted to say too, because Don put this in the comments, if you would like to look at the catalog of said person who you're seeing on the screen at the moment, it is chuckjonescatalog.com/Ben-Olson. And you can see all this kind of stuff. All of the concept sketches that I have, which is for a lot of them, come with the paintings. And then there's like giveaway stuff. Like Fabio was laughing at me like, how could you do this? And I'm like, I
can't believe you're talking about it right now. You know how I feel about it.
Look, let me just tell you this, okay? I'm going to reenact our conversation on Tuesday with everybody in it, because this is the reason why. So I have my pin. It's an enamel pin with a sticker. It's Admiral. I've got this whole thing coming out at the end of the year. It's my own characters. There's a reason behind all the monkeys. It's great. There's an aardvark in it. There's a purpose, right? And then in addition, there it is. So you get that. I've only done a limited number. There's only a few. There's only so many left, and then it's done. I'm not doing this again. I'm going to do something different. And then on top of that, I will sketch, if you purchase whatever, right, on 12F animation paper. I will do, you name the character, whatever, I'll sketch it, and then I'll put it on 12F. Now, that's like a sketch, plus you get the original sketch, plus you get the pin and thing. And Fabio's like, you're making me look bad. And here is my reaction. No. Hold on a second. Here is my reaction. All right, here's what I said. I am now Fabio. Fabio is looking down to Ben, who's climbing up the cliff of Art World, right? Dude, what is taking you so long? Why are you giving all this stuff away? And here is Ben. Look, man, I'm just trying to get to your level, and I'm like years away. So I got to give away a lot of stuff, and I'm just trying. That's my reenactment.
Oh.
Yeah, it's I bust your balls, but I understand 100% correct, and I wouldn't tell you to change a single thing. Honestly, I think there's before you get to the steampunk stuff, I have to say that. And this is I said it the other night when we were doing this thing, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I scroll through Instagram, and I'm inspired by the art that I see of guys that are super duper famous, and then guys that are, you know, where I was 10, 15 years ago, where you were, and climbing up the ladder and struggling. And I scroll and I scroll and I scroll, and then I see some, you know, people who are not in the position that we're in with Chuck Jones, and they create crap pop art, you know, doing stuff, and then I'm scrolling and I see this Marvin and Canine, and I'm like, whoa, you know, instantly like scroll back, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this thing is freaking fantastic. And to go back to the earlier conversation, it's you maintain the integrity of the characters, but then at the same time there is something in there. There's something, whether it's the line or the fact that you use the colored pencils or the black. There's something in there that shows that it's you. And then I'm looking at it, and then I see your name, and then some profanity came out, and I was like, look at this guy. I was like, I'm gonna message him right now. So then I send you a message, and I'm like, this is insane. Like, it instantly stopped me in my tracks, and then he started doing these art drops, and I'm like, is he bored? What is he doing? Like, does he not have a job, a kids he has to take care of? I'm like, what are you doing? And I get it, because I seen you, and you have your kids with you in the back, and they're all in the camera with you, and there's and what I'm getting to is there's a genuineness about you that I think that's part of the reason that you're successful. You know, not everybody can draw a Chuck Jones character. Not everybody. There are people that try, and you can see it, but you don't feel it. You know what I mean? And when I look at your stuff, you feel it. There's a creativeness to it that it just comes, like the one that was behind Craig. I mean, it's just super cool. But the integrity of the characters is still there. You haven't changed the color of the Roadrunner, or, you know, there's certain people that do stuff like that. When I do it, I try to maintain as close to the character as possible. So I think that's my admiration to you for doing that. And then when you add your little things in there, again, it just caught my attention instantly. And I was like, again, profanity. And then and I was like, this is really cool. And then when you start, as you're growing it and growing it and growing it, I'm interested to see where it goes from there. And so yeah, you have a fan with this guy right here on that series of the steampunk stuff. It's stellar.
Well, you know, I appreciate that, dude. And it started with that steampunk Marvin that I did for Red Dot. And then it kind of like, and I'm like, all right, and it sold and for Red Dot, and that was the whole purpose of that, is to raise money for the Chuck Jones Center, and that was awesome. And then they made a limited, which I was totally shocked by, and I'm like, sure. And so in doing that, I'm like, I've wanted to explore that. And right before I get to the steampunk thing, Buell, to answer your question, yes, this video will be on YouTube, and you can share to your heart's content. We appreciate your support, sir. there's in the art drop thing, how that happened was I've seen art drops go on and, you know, people drop art and whatever. But really this year to me, this last year was something where I've had a lot, like I'm in the business community, but a lot of friends of mine, a lot of us have struggled personally, professionally, you know, there's been all kinds of stuff. And thankfully, you know, I still keep I've got a kind of an uncanny knack to be able to like compartmentalize and stuff. And I'm like, you know, and I've told friends of mine, I'm like, I've wanted to do art drops here. And if I'm going to do it, it's not going to be necessary. It's not going to be to like promote myself in a way to be like, hey, go buy my painting I just did. It's what I want to do is I want to push myself as an artist to just draw different things. And I want to bring joy to people. And that is the primary reason. I want to bring joy and excitement. And there was no better year to start that than this year. So
exactly.
And I see him on the attendees list, and I'm gonna say, Mr. H, Mr. MH, you know who you are. Won an art drop because I did a few online, I did a lot in person. And my thing to art drops was I want to do stuff that I love doing. And like and things that would be difficult for me normally, and I just want to keep sketching. And let's just see what happens. And so I did a little Grogu, you know, with a little edge plate, and that was in November and last year. And I didn't know if anybody would even care. Who's even gonna care? It's a 9x12 piece of paper. It's a little sketch. It's like 6x6 inches. And a good friend of mine, Roxy, like found it and like found a way to get like her kids into the van and like figure out a way and got there before everybody else and grabbed it in like 30 or 45 minutes. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Well, and that was in like November. And I'm like, you know what would be awesome? Instead of the 12 days of Christmas, like in that 12 days of Christmas, what if I did the 12 art drops of Christmas? And then in that 12 art drops of Christmas, what if I did 2 sketches for each art drop? And the premise is you keep one and then you give one to somebody else. I want you to feel joy in something you're getting. I want you to feel excitement in a scavenger hunt. I want to be able to produce something that's worthy of somebody wanting, right? And that's good. I don't want crap. So it's going to push me as an artist, but I want you to be happy and I want you to make somebody else happy. That's what I want. So the whole thing is give, give, and give. I'm all about, I would much rather see the more we give to other people and we fill other people's cups, the more they fill someone else's cup, the more our cup gets filled by somebody else, right? The more we take and suck dry, the more everything just becomes desolate. I don't want that. So when I did the art drop thing, and Scott, if you can take those 2 art drop sketches, I did a whole bunch of stuff. I love, you know, because we've talked about this, my love for The Mandalorian and that show and Star Wars. Forget Star Wars Episode 8. Okay, we're not going to talk about that. But series, right? And I love it. And so I'm like, you know what? I love Mando. I've already pre-ordered the Mando helmet. It'll be here in like 3-4 days. And so I wanted to try something. And so I did this. And then Scott, if you can take the next one, I love Chuck. Okay, I love Chuck Scrinch. And I'm not saying that because Craig's on here or because I'm on a Chuck Jones Creativeside Chat. I think it's a far more artistic piece. The new one is like it's devoid of character, personality, everything else. And so, and I love Tim Burton, right? So I did this thing and I'm like, man, what if, and as my 3-year-old son puts it, Skeleton Jack, what if Skeleton Jack has, you know, the 2 of them were together and this was all about like this whole like grabbing season of things. And so I put this out. I did a few online. I did most of them in person. This one specifically I did online. And it was this, and I think it was Luke Skywalker holding Grogu and R2-D2. And so I did it online, right? And the idea was I would hide it on my site. You would go through, you would have to screenshot, and then you would have to like post to either Instagram or Facebook. First one that posts and tags me wins the prize. No joke. Michael, I can see you on. I know you're here. You won by 5 seconds because he posted to Instagram. He found it. He posted to Instagram. I have both screens up. I see Michael's post comes up that says, I found it with here. And then I see Angela's post on Facebook that says, I found it. It was literally 5 seconds late. And I felt so bad for her. But Michael beat her out. And you know what I got in the comments of things was like no art drop lasted longer than an hour, which stunned me. Right now, the online thing you can understand that could probably like 10-15 minutes, someone finds it done. But in person, you're hunting around my neighborhood in Schaumburg or Hoffman Estates, and people are finding within an hour. That stunned me. And then they're like following stuff. So as soon as stuff's coming up, they're stalking, which I thought was hilarious. And so what I loved about that was I heard comments back from people that because I ended up going on Facebook Live, and one woman stole a car. No joke. She stole a car. Here's how it happened. All right. This is like a 2-minute story. This is how it happened. I'm in one of the last art drops, right? And I get to my buddy's place, and he said, we'll hide it wherever around outside. I said, okay, I want to hide it in one of your vans. And so I put it in the passenger seat of one of his vans, which has his company logo on it. And my comment was, my exact clue was, drive it like you stole it. Now, what I meant by that was go look inside a car that would, like, where I'm at in the company, and there's a bunch of companies in this area. This woman goes down, some dude left his car on, okay? And she goes in there looking around the car. I'm like way down the way, and I'm like, and you can hear my commenting. I'm like, what's happening right now? And he's like, I don't know. So she pulls up. I don't realize that she's one of the women in this van that pulled up, and she goes, I stole it. And I'm like, what? And then my camera's on her, right, for Facebook Live, and I do this. So, you're gonna want to put that back. Right? And then I'm like, it's no. And so she puts it back, and she puts the car back. Another one of my good friends was out hunting. They found it. It was in the passenger seat. Anyway, this dude gets into his car. I don't know if you watched all this go down, but you're really not going to confront people who just took your car and drove it halfway down a thing. And so he comes back, and we're all like congregated outside. It's in December, right? And he goes driving by like this. No joke, right? No joke. He just got into his car, and he did this as he's driving by. He just doesn't say a word and just keeps on going. And I'm like, oh my gosh. To this day, like we have a good back and forth on Facebook and stuff because it's funny. But what I found about the art drop thing was people really enjoyed it. They enjoyed the hunt. They enjoyed gifting it to somebody else, and it brought in December, which for here in Chicago sucks for weather. But just in general, for this year that we've had with all the stuff that has gone on, like what can we do with the gifts that we have, whatever they are. Mine is art. To do something for other people to like inspire that. And so that was the whole reason behind Art Drop. So then I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep this going once a month. And so for once a month, I've been doing art drops, and I do them around here, whatever. I'm going to do a road rally next month. The road rally is multiple art drops in one day. I sincerely hope people were breaking speed laws, red lights, and everything else. 6 cars converging on one to get to the thing. But like they were like literally, I'm not kidding. One was on her way to Costco, which is for me like right down the street. Saw my post, told her brother to blow it, forget Costco. Drives 4 blocks down. In the Facebook Live, you can hear the tire screeching as she's going. And then no joke, within 10 minutes, a dozen and a half cars had pulled up to that location at my buddy's restaurant, because the idea was I wanted to like promote friends of mine businesses and really the restaurant industry. So I would hide them around there. And it was great. So I'm doing once a month. Next month is the Art Drop Road Rally. It's half a day, food trucks, art drops. It's insanity, but it's been great. So, people like, Michael, who loves you and then saw me interview you and ended up following me. I'm thrilled that people like him, because on there, and then everybody else who's won something has felt some sort of joy and has gifted it off to somebody else. Like that makes me feel great, because we're doing something not for ourselves but for other people. So anyway, that's Art Drop, and it's nuts. Which I'm gonna pause for a second. If you have another question, then we can get into it.
Yeah, it's so here's another one too. Like I curious. So like when you get up in the morning and you go into your studio, like, what do you do? You know, do you turn the music on? Do you have a specific brand of coffee? Do you feel the need to put on all the jewelry, or do some days go without it? Some days your fingers are like, whoa, they're just free. And
Yes.
but no, in all seriousness, like what do you do that gets you in the morning? Get in, do you go through your emails, do you answer people back, and that gets you going, reading a good story about your artwork, a nice comment. What is it that gets you motivated to just be like, today I'm just gonna kick a little rear end, and I'm gonna do this and this, and even though you have this pile of artwork here that needs to get done, you had a thought because your cup of coffee was extremely delicious, and you're like, you know what, I'm going in this direction today. What is that thing in the morning, or at any time really, 2 o'clock in the morning, that you're about to go to bed and boom, there's a spark. What is that? What drives Ben Olson?
So you may have something similar to this. Like when we have ideas on stuff, like for me, I can, especially if it's middle of the night thing or during the day, I can forget about it. And I can have a great thing. And my ADD is working all the time. Like
Mhm.
3 paintings that I started within the last 2 days. And it's like all over here. And I'm like, and we're working, right?
Mhm.
And so if I don't write stuff down, I will forget. And so my days start, like I told you, my 2 littlest, I have teenagers, and then I have, which are self-sufficient. And then I have my littles who are 5 and 3 now. And Hunter has been coming with me to the studio since he's 5 weeks old. And,
Wow.
and Michaela who's my favorite, but we're not supposed to have favorite kids, but I'm going to say she's my favorite. So, and she knows it too. Sorry, Aiden, Maya, Hunter, I love you all. You're all tied for second. You're all tied for second.
You're all tied for second.
So I literally come in and when I start off, like, I'm not a huge coffee guy, but I have to get into the thing where if I don't, because that's my favorite.
There she is. Hey, Michaela.
Yes. So when I do that, if I don't write things down, and I learned from John Rowe, who is an amazing artist, and I have so much respect for him. I've gotten to visit his studio, to even if I'm having thoughts in the middle of the day, just to write them down. But this is my list. It's on paper. I have to write it down. I've tried online, or I tried app. It doesn't work. I have to physically write something down, and I have to see it in front of me. I have to have the tactile feel. Otherwise, it doesn't work. I'm wearing this for you today because when I paint and when I design, clinky things on mice and brushes don't work. So this today, Fabio, I'm donning the armor for you, and including.
I appreciate it. You're like the why can I not think of his name? Purple dude.
Thanos?
Yes. My brain just blacked out. I was thinking of your list, and I was like, oh my God, this is mine. This is mine. This is no joke. There's sketch ideas in here. This is it. Look at that. That's ridiculous. I have a problem.
No. You don't have then we all have a problem, because I got news for you. This is what happens when my and I'm like, I've got this notepad, which you can see how much paper's left, right? And then there's all this stuff. And I just keep going. So I have this is my list. And in my list, see, Craig's got a giant list too. Craig's got probably a bigger list than both of us do.
Oh, he's got a book.
He's got a book.
I do. I got books after books after books. Yeah.
I've got to have something where I can tear off the pages, and that way I can put it in a thing and do it. But what I do is I've got it segmented. I've got 3 Monkeys in Aardvark, which is all the design stuff and my client stuff that I need to do. I've got the Backyard Experience, which is my nonprofit, which has the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity Chicagoland. That has a list. Then I have the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity, period. That has a list. And then I have Chuck Jones Gallery. That has a list. And then I have Art of Ben Olson. That has a list. And then I have people I need to bill. But I start off on a Monday, and that's how I get it moving. And then I'll rip off a page. I'll rewrite the list if it's a Wednesday, because a lot's gotten crossed off for Moore's Bed. But I have to do that. And if I don't do that at the beginning, I forget stuff. And thankfully, even when I do forget some things, I'll, somebody will email me or whatever, I can put it back in and I'll apologize. But that's how I have to keep things straight. So here's what my week looks like. Mondays are pancake day, which means on our way into the studio, I get Mac and Grunt. His name is Hunter. We call him Grunt. There's a whole thing behind that because he used to grunt a lot as an infant. He'd be like, and we're like, Hunter the Grunter, which became Grunt, which became Gruntus Maximus Aurelius Odecimus Infus, whatever the third. There's the whole thing. And so I get Mac and Grunt like pancakes from McDonald's. That's our thing, right? And I get an iced caramel macchiato. It sounds fancy, but it's really not. It's only $3. And usually I have a free thing. So there you go. That's Monday. Tuesdays are breakfast in the studio, which is cereal, pancakes, or waffles, whatever, that kind of thing. That's how we start our day. I do have music on. They get to watch some iPads because I can only take so much Muppet Babies, right, in the morning. So when I got to get going, and you'll appreciate this, I have my 80s mix on Apple. And here's what I don't understand, by the way, because this is going to be a slight segment. Don't worry, Scott, this is only going to take a second. ChuckJonesCatalog.com/Ben-Olson. You can see all the stuff. You can buy it all, okay? So here's what I don't understand. In my 80s rock music, okay, I had, Pink Floyd, right? Hello, right? It's in the mix of all this stuff, right? And then it stops. And then I'm like, I don't need that. Like, I got to paint a lot of stuff. So I hit the next button. Do you know what the next one was? Which, by the way, I love this song. Kickstart My Heart, Motley frickin' Crue, right?
Yeah.
That's like hitting the gas, injecting yourself with adrenaline, and you're like, right? And
yes, it is.
Going from 0 to 60 in like half a second. So anyway, that's kind of like the mode. I like to listen to some music. I'll do EDM because I love trance, and then I'll do like 80s rock, or maybe we'll do a 90s mix. And then the kids are eating. Wednesdays are mini donut day. Mini donut means donut holes from Dunkin' Donuts, right? So I get some mini donuts, and they all know my order. I need 2 boxes, 2 10-count boxes of glazed and 1 10-count of chocolate. Thank you very much. I will also take a medium caramel craze latte. That's awesome. Thank you very much. And an order of hash browns. Okay, that's our order. We come into the studio, they sit down, I sit down, and because I have my desk that's like a giant L, they'll sometimes eat by me. And then we start. Thursday, normal breakfast day, right? Friday is big donut day. I'm just going to tell you right now, and they're not paying me to say this. And Craig knows, because when Craig sits here, we do our calories. We don't count calories. We just eat. Yeah, it's called Donut Drop. Oh my gosh, it's the best donuts ever. I have gone to war on Facebook for the integrity of that organization. So we get big donuts, and then we come in, right? And then we have some big donuts, and we have some some juice boxes. Don't worry, it's apple juice. It's 100% juice. I don't do the sugar stuff, right? And then we do that. And that's how we get going on a Friday. So that's like the start to the day to get moving. And then once I try to get going by like 9 or 9:15 with whatever I have to run around the studio with, and then it's time to get to work. So we take breaks. The kids are with me all day long. I've got ropes. They swing from ropes. They've got a ball pit. They've got a giant thing. They've got a bounce house in the other side of the studio. We do all kinds of stuff. We go outside. But that's my day is like part daycare, part artist, part and then all of that. And it's literally, and I'm going to tell you this, man, because with my older 2 who went to daycare for pretty much all 5 years, and we spent a lot of money. My ADD allows me to multifunction, right? And I know how much time, and as well because yours are grown, how much time, how fast time goes, right?
Yeah. And
knowing that my 17-year-old and my now soon to be 16-year-old, and how much time speeds, and I love those guys, and they're great kids. And I watch my 5 and my 3-year-old. I only have so much time. So my phase in life right now, while they're still in here before Matt goes to and everything else, is this, and I love it. So this whole like chaoticness just works, and that's my week, and it happens like that every single week. And what's hard for me to believe, it's been almost 5 years now of this steady pace of things. And I have clients come in, kids are here, I'll take them to whatever if I need to, nope, like everybody's cool with it. So that's my day.
So Fabio, let me paint a picture for you, because I have spent a number of days out with Ben and his family, and you ask how he gets going. And and I've been, working with Ben or hanging out with Ben at 6 o'clock in the morning, and 5 o'clock in the morning after spending the whole night getting ready for a Chuck Jones big draw and whatnot. And here's the way Ben gets going. Okay, let's go. We're just going. Here it is. Okay. And you know what? We're going to go out here. We're going to go there. And then we go do this. And oh, by the way, did you need something to eat? Because we're going to do this. And then we're going to go there. And then we're going to go, oh, do you need some more? You need some more to eat because we need 10,000 calories per meal. And then we're going to go get deep dish pizza. And then we're going to do this. And then, and that is pretty much any time that you're hanging out with Ben, it's just hanging. And then it's go time. And I don't think there is a thing that ignites him. I think it just sort of sparks inside and then just goes. And
it
it does. And I think that's the beauty of, that creative spark, that when it goes, and he doesn't throttle back. And that's, that's what an opportunity happens, and I'm all in. And we all just kind of go, great. I mean, I was accused of that for many, many years, have been. And I finally met somebody who's like, heck yeah, let's do that. Always. I've never heard him say no. Can't do it. So.
No. Yeah. And there's a story for another time, because I don't know how it would take a little bit, but I'm going to tell you right now, Craig and I'm going to show you this. So I wanted to be a Disney animator, right? And then we're going to get into the steampunk series. So if you're hanging on for the steampunk series, get ready, because this is intense. But right before that, Craig, I kept my guest pass. So I just want to tell you, and I'm going to encapsulate this, Fabio. Now, I'm moving down by you next year, okay? So we're going to be close enough to be able to hang out on hopefully a more regular basis than just Zoom. And my lifelong dream was to become a Disney animator when I was young, and to be in the Disney animation building. Like, I got The Art of Aladdin. The Art of Aladdin was my first animation book that I got, right? My first art book. My second one was by Charles Solomon. It was The Art of Animation, and went all the way up to The Lion King, right? And I have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books in my library, which is up front, and like stacks. Like there's all in shelves. It's all nice, but I have a lot. I've collected over the many years. So when I was at a Red Dot, I won a tour of Walt Disney Animation Studios or Imagineering. I've been through Imagineering, love that. And Craig and I haven't told the story on something like this. So Craig and I went out for, I forget what it was a board meeting I think we had for Chuck Jones Center for Creativity. And I go out there and I won this thing, and Stephanie didn't go with me. I think she had Mac here at the house. And after that, by the way, after that, they travel with me every single time. So when we go, we're a 4-pack every time. And it has been for the last, and it's great because I want to share that stuff with them. And so, but Craig and I had this thing, and she's like, why don't you ask Craig to go? I said, Craig, do you want to join me on this tour? Yeah, I'll join you on this tour. And so we go on this tour, right? And we get to Disney Imagineering, and I'm ecstatic. I'm like, oh, right? And so we get into Disney Imagineering. We get around. They're like, well, we can show you the gift shop. Now, the gift shop in Disney Imagineering is cool. Tampa Clearwater area for whoever Acme MacBook Pro is. That's a question, by the way, that just popped out. So we're out there, right? And we go in, and the gift shop is cool. Like, I've got WDI stuff, and that you can only get from there. Bruce, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Bruce.
Acme.
Yeah, Acme. I should have known. So we're in there, and we get to go to the gift store, and I was hoping we get around to see some of the other stuff. And then our tour guide takes us to the other gift shop for consumer products. Okay.
On the lot,
right?
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at Craig, and I'm like, okay, and we're around the gift shop, and then we leave.
Well, to put a little thing, the thing is that when we'd been there a year or two before, it had, we'd gotten in to see all kinds of things, and they'd kind of shut the opportunity down. And so we did walk around the grounds of Imagineering. There were a lot to see, but not into the sort of deep side like we'd done in the past. So this was like, well, let's go over to the studio. And then we went there.
So she says, and she said that, so we could go to the studio, and we're like, all right, well, let's go to the studio and let's see that happens. Now, Fabio, I mentioned at the start of this, I don't believe in coincidences, ever, right? Even if it's a small purpose, there is a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to the studios, we get in the lot, whatever, and she proceeds to take us to, guess what? The gift shop. And so we get into the gift shop and we're there, and I looked at Craig, and I was feeling a little defeated at this point because I'm a huge Disney fan. Like, where, you know, I love what Walt built, you know, the storytelling, you know, the golden era of animation, the rebirth in the late 80s, early 90s and stuff like that. Dude, I was all in. I was drawing that stuff all that. That's what Glenn Keane, Eric Goldberg, who I've gotten to meet numerous times, and I love that man, and Andreas Deja are the reasons I wanted to be an animator. Those three guys, right? And Lisa Keene and her concept art is what made me like so passionate about the stuff that we had. So we got into the thing, and we're in the gift shop, and I'm like, okay, and I'm feeling a little defeated, and I'm looking at stuff, and I'm texting Stephanie, and I'm like, hey, do you like this shirt? You know, I'll get you a shirt, I'll get Max something, whatever. And there's the twins, right? And they work at Disney, and they're big Chuck fans, and they're wonderful people. And we're in line, and one turns to Craig and be like, Craig! And by the way, I've already talked to Craig, and I'm like, all right, dude. I'm like, well, I guess we're done. And I have a flight to catch the same day, right? I have to be to the airport by like 2:30. And so I was like, all right, whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Let's just wrap it up. So anyway, I think, was it Debbie or I forget the other one? Who's the other one?
Now you've driven it out of my mind, but the Sleeper Sisters.
There's Debbie and there's one more, and please forgive
Jennifer.
me. So
Jennifer, right. Thank you.
Jennifer. Yep. So Jennifer, and I think it was Debbie, but I'm not sure. Anyway,
They're twins. I don't know. No,
so she's like, what are you doing here? She's in the gift shop looking for this Funko Pop that she can't find because she works at Disney Toon, like the animate, like TV cartoons, right? Mm-hmm. Her sister works finance in the hat building. Okay. Right now, I, as you have witnessed in our gatherings and our texting, I am not a shy individual, right? I enjoy opportunities. I do not believe in coincidence. So she's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, yeah, we were supposed to do this tour and whatever. And she's like, have you guys seen like the thing where they, you know, underneath the street and whatever? No, I've seen that. Craig's seen that. But we're like, yeah, we'll totally go. And we look at our guide and we're like, we're going to do this. So come on, we're doing this. And so she's like, you know, my sister's at the hat building and finance. If she's on lunch or something, maybe I call her, maybe we go over to Disney animation, feature animation, and take a tour. Stop. What? One moment, please. Feature animation in the hat building. Yes. So I did not hesitate, as Craig can attest. And I said, that would be awesome. Can we call your sister and see if that's a possibility? And she's like, sure. And I'm like, so we go and we tour the thing. Now I have pictures of me hugging the animation building, the old animation building, like full on, like boom, right? I'm like, I'm hugging the building. It's a thing. I love it. I've seen Glenn Keane's plaque. I was 30 feet from his office. I did not stalk him or go in. I stayed by but so we're going through this tour on stuff, right? And Craig's like, it's like, okay, we're like, she's doing it. So she gets a text back from her sister. She's like, yeah, come on over. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, Craig, do you understand what's happening? We walk over to the hat building. We walk over. Now, if you know me and the whole thing, and you know that I'm inside, I am a fireworks show. I'm a finale. I'm a fireworks finale show for 5 hours, but I'm keeping it all inside. And so we go in and we get over to the hat building and we like get through the door. Now, I have only been into the front door and the first little theater room. Dave Bossert is a wonderful man. I love and respect him. I bought his books. He gave a little thing. I got to go in there and watch it. That was it. I've never been able to cross the line into production until that. Wow.
So that's
Here's his pass.
My guest pass. I get a guest pass. I clip it on my shirt. I look at Craig, and I literally remember saying to you, I've never made it past this far.
I know.
Now, they have all kinds of signs that say no photography, only like restricted area. This girl, no, she's in finance. They don't make a film without her. She knows everybody. I'm looking at concept work for short films coming up. I saw the Wreck-It Ralph 2 stuff before Wreck-It Ralph 2 ever came out. We're going like floor by floor. We're meeting people. I'm shaking hands. I should have given Scott Ryder the pictures because I didn't know we would go into this. But we're like literally whatever, right? And again, no coincidences. We get on to level 4. Fabio, do you know what level 4 is?
I have no idea. I'm entertained by this. I'm listening to this story like, I need to go there.
Yeah.
It's a no-go. Let's put it that way.
Level 4 is the director's floor along with the story rooms, which are gigantic. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh no. If you grew up, Aladdin, for all of you watching, is my all-time favorite animated film, period. I love the color. I love the characters. I love everything about it, right? I've drawn Aladdin till it's blue in the face. And that's not just a genie comment. It's literally blue. So I'm on. So then you know that John and Ron, right? Ron Clements, John Musker I love those guys as directors. We're up there, right? We're looking around. Jennifer's like, so this is this, and this is this, and that's that, and here's meet this and whatnot. And I got to see Mark Henn's actual office, which I love Mark Henn and all the work he did with the Disney princesses. We get in. There is John and Ron's office. I got to stick my head in there. They were at lunch, but that's okay because I was like this, huh? Right? And then right next to theirs is Lisa Keene. No freaking joke. I met her once. She signed my Art of Rapunzel book. I was ecstatic, right? Lisa Keene is a ridiculously phenomenal concept artist, period. And she was meeting with somebody. We're like, hey, whatever. And then, of course, because everybody knows, everybody has a connection to Chuck. Everybody has a connection to Chuck, which means everybody has a connection to Craig. So Craig's walking around and he sees some guys that he knows. He's like, what's up, what's up, what's up? I got to see Eric. Right now, I've gotten to meet Eric, but I got to see his office. And so we work our way around. Now, mind you, like Tangled had come out, you know, all that stuff. I love that film. Like my daughter loves that film. I think it's a fantastic movie. We're walking by another office, just like this. Step, step, step. Oh, Byron Howard. Jennifer, that's awesome. Byron Howard's in his office. That's cool. She's like, oh, would you like to meet him? Come again? And she's like, yeah, I know. Byron and I are good friends. We walk into Byron's office. Byron and we all start chatting, and we start about, Jennifer introduced, this is Craig, he's Chuck's grandson, and no joke, he had both of Chuck's autobiographies. He had Kitty was his favorite mug, which was on his desk. He had a classic animation table. He had everything, and I was like, right? And so like Zootopia, the whole thing, right? This dude, I love this dude as an artist and a director. So we're talking, and he pulls out his book and he opens it up. And in his book is a letter from Chuck to him in response, because when he wanted animation at the community college, he said that Scott's telling me to bring it back. I'm going to bring it back to the art. ChuckJonesCatalog.com. Right? And so here's the thing. We met him. He knew Chuck. He had the letter that Chuck said, come, I'll spend a half hour talking with you. Absolutely. Him, John, and Ron were the only guys that ever responded to him. And now look at where he's at. So anyway, and then he goes, don't we know each other from somewhere? And I'm like, I bet we do. We don't. Anyway, and I told Craig, because we were up there for longer than we should have been, and I needed to be at the airport. I'm like, Craig, I'm going to tell you, this is how I know it's going to happen. I said, it's not going to take us the 2 hours to get back to the airport. That highway is going to be wide open, because this was not coincidence. This was purpose. Craig, how fast did we get to the airport? Was there traffic?
Zero in the afternoon.
On the floor?
Coming across from Burbank.
We're in his Prius, and we are boom, and it was gone. And I said, Craig, and by the way, when we got to his car, like I'm not like I used to like be an explicit laden person. I calmed it down, whatever, but not that day, because as soon as I'm like, motherfucker, yelling at each other, obscenities. And it doesn't matter, because we're not yelling angry obscenities. It means words. It means words. And we were yelling at each other the whole time because of what we got to experience. Blah. I made it to the airport and on my flight on time. And would normally take. And I'm like, cheers to that. chuckjonescatalog.com/Ben Olson -. That's what that story was.
So Fabio, you were wondering, you know, how he gets excited about things and how he gets himself fired up. You just experienced it. It's always brewing inside of him. And I think that's the
cool.
best part when I look at these types of things. And by the way, Fabio, I did whatever your expletive was when you saw that Marvin as you were, I did the same thing. I'm like, bam, bam. I'm like, what the, who did that? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is a Ben Olson. I did not say exactly that, but hello. And literally, I'm just commenting and it's, you've come a long way, baby. I got to tell you, you continue to evolve. It's awesome. It's crazy how good you're getting.
And the fact that you love what you do and you get this excited about telling a story and looking at it, there's no, I mean, you're only going to improve from this point. And it's just, you know, looking at at the beginning from where you started, the characters to what they look like now, I can't, you know, imagine. Some of those look like they're almost digitally done. So that's amazing. That's amazing to get
Fabio,
to that.
Look how he started with that crap behind you, and now he's look at me.
Wow.
And now,
Woo. Give me a moment.
I love it.
More of this.
That
I can't believe you bought that. We had to.
I know.
Count it.
Listen,
I mean,
you know,
it's
no
all messed
fairness.
up.
I was expecting to. I said to my wife, I was like, "Fine to see if that thing is available." And she's like, "Yeah." And then I said, she goes, "What do you want to spend?" I said, "I don't know." And she's like, and then she just came back to me, and I said, "How was it?" She goes, "I bought it." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Dude, all right.
And then she told me, and she's like, "I knew what your answer was going to be. I knew what it was going to be. I knew you were going to say yes, no matter." And I was like, she's funny. She's like, I just bought it.
So like and I'm going to get to steampunk as we're going to introduce.
Come on.
I just want to tell you, if you look at that interview, right, on because it was my interview for the whatever that Sunday was.
Oh yeah.
I got a note that said Fabio just bought your your Bagasso. And if you look at that, you will watch my face do this. and then I try to carry on because I'm like, he just bought a piece of mine. So into the interpreting characters and things, there was something in the steampunk world that I absolutely love. And Steve Finney, I'm going to have you hold up Superbugs here in a second because Steve is a very big Bugs Bunny fan and a very big Alex Ross fan. So the steampunk thing was always something that really intrigued me. And Scott, if you can show those two images. So I'm going to hold up the work in progress live. So this was for Marvin Madness, and it was something because steampunk had been doing well, and I'm like, all right, let's just see how it goes. I concocted this piece of Marvin being totally pissed off that you know, Planet X was blown up. And so, but there's all these other planets. We have A through Z, right? What happened to those? Why is it just Planet X with the shaving cream at him? So he's angry and he's watching his, like, you know, TV, his monitor, and there's Daffy claiming Planet D. And I said, okay, and I wanted to do an ink, and this sold, and it was an ink, a 9x12 ink in Copic marker, and I love working in those mediums. And so, and then Scott, if you can take the next one. So that got me onto this. And I'm like, I need K9 and Marvin in a Sherlock Holmes and Watson kind of thing, right? And if you notice in both cartoons that they have, there is both of his ships blow up because the moon blows up, and so does Planet X. So this is my steampunk ship, and I said, okay. I'm like, and this went over really well. Like, it got a lot of likes on Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Sold immediately, and I said, okay. I'm like, and all my steampunk stuff sold. So I said, there was this idea that I had. All right, thank you, Scott. And I said, now, and you're in the world, right? And Planet X is not the shaving cream atom has blown up, right? The planet with that on it. But there's got to be more to this. Like, Marvin can't just be dedicated to like taking over one planet. What would be the gist of all of that? I said, what would happen if you had Planet A through Z? And then we're in this world of hashtags and @ symbols. I'm like, there's got to be something in there. So what if what if every planet he had to conquer something to take an element, a particle, a something from, right? To build this machine to then conquer the Earth. That's his goal. He wants to conquer Earth, right? And the ones that are stopping him that he's had interaction with are Bugs, Daffy, and Porky, right? So there's your three heroes. Your villains are Marvin, K9, Wile E. Coyote, which, Scott, can you pull up just the concept sketch of Wile E. and Steampunk? Wile E., Gossamer, the Abominable Snowman, all kinds of stuff. Nope, that's not the one. The Wile E. Coyote in the Steampunk, it's only a half-done colored pencil sketch. That one, could you take that live, please? So there's this, right? And this was what I did for a Chuck Jones class when I was like, hey, let's work on colored pencil. And so, all right, that's cool, thank you. So we came back and went to this thing of like, if everything was a cover. So all the lettering, I have hand lettered everything, right? This is the logo for all of it. It's done all in this planet A, B, C, D, E, F, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T, U, V, W, Y, and Z. There's no X.
Oh, yes.
So the whole idea behind these is there's something happens. So right now what he's doing and what I'll finish is this is a Mentos. This is a planet of soda. Pop Mentos is the particle. What happens when you put Mentos in pop? Kaboom, right? So he needs explosion stuff. He needs other things. I literally have 29 covers, okay, to do. And I have them hand lettered out. I'm going to go through the whole thing on the concept sketch. You're going to see between at least Marvin and K9, and then adding a Daffy, a Bugs, and a Porky somewhere in. So we'll have multiple characters in this comic book style cover of Marvin's quest to collect all of these particles and elements to build his weapon to conquer the Earth. The series is Conquer Earth, right? So, and it's all in sci-fi steampunk. And how we do the planets, how I do the color, the whole thing, it glows, it radiates, there's all kinds of stuff, but I want things that he has to collect. Now, here's the key and the hit to this, or the key to this all. Planet X plays the key role, right? I'm gonna do one 20 by 30 giant on board, full colored pencil sketch that has all of the characters in it, in the whole thing. And then we do one final painting that shows the final reaction to what happens. Because the fact that there is no shaving cream, Adam, means there is no more shaving. Now, when Marvin first starts off, Wiley creates this thing and this device that's specific to him, right? And it's facial recognition, so that he can like activate this thing to conquer the Earth. It takes him so long to get all the elements and particles and all this kind of stuff that he has grown a full beard because he cannot shave. So what happens on the self-destruct when the facial recognition does not recognize Marvin and he's sitting on this thing on Mars? Boom.
Done. Done for.
Done. 29 covers, 2 paintings at least, and one 20 by 30 giant on black board colored pencil. That is the Steampunk Marvin series called Conquer Earth. That should take me at least the next 6 months to finish. And it will all be like, everything is here. So every planet is in, it's got its label on there. It's got whatever the thing that's going on. It's all done on different paper. I'm gonna have some that might do like marker and ink and work with the comics. But it's a whole system built around Marvin's quest to conquer Earth and how he ultimately ends up failing. So that is my deal. Norm, I love Norm. If you know Norm right now, he just commented, Norm is like the king of NASA. He invented everything. The International Space Station, Space Shuttle, I freaking love Norm. So, and then at the end, Heather, to comment on what you said, I do want to make this into one book with all the concept sketches, all the covers, and all the things, because as I have learned from Fabio, and I have already pre-ordered his book on Amazon, thank you very much, Fabio, make it into a book.
You have to. I mean, it's a good guy that I know, David Corbett, took my. He said it. Think of it this way. You're really good at collecting everything you've had, even from the past and stuff like that. It's once you'll get to a point, hopefully after this series is done, and maybe you'll work something out with Chuck and those guys can do that for you. David put a retrospective of me. And it starts out literally from the concept sketches I had. Some of them go back to the early 90s, just after I graduated high school, through the 90s, 2000s, from concept jazz singers that I did and things like that. So since you keep everything, that is like a bookmaker's dream from what David said to me. It's really good to go back through. Plus, then again, you go back through and you look at some of the stuff you did when you were younger, you're like, oh my God, I could do this again today, or revision it or whatever. But oh yeah, you could definitely put a book together with the things you've done. It would be amazing. And, you know, it just it'd be really cool. And especially when you put a little story, like the stuff you just said tonight. You know, David, you know, put little things like that in the little stories and through my retrospective. And it makes a world of difference when you have somebody read it. And then just outside of us sharing it, you know, the people that buy it and they get into that. And it's really cool. Then when you go to do a show and someone, you know, quotes something from a book that you put together, you know, and it's really cool. It's a good feeling.
Right, and you know, there's I like, here's my list. Here's planets. Here's all the particles and elements that go with it. Here's what happens in each one.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why I use black, dark gray, or white paper to do all that kind of stuff. And then the weave in, and you know, I love doing digital art, right? But I have all of my concept stuff now is all traditional. It's all traditional, and I want to keep that. And for one, like, I want to keep it because if a collector wants it, and which they have, like I had one painting that I wasn't even released like 2 weeks and sold and it's gone, which is funny to me. But I keep all the stuff in traditional form because while I can do digital art and I love doing that, and the speed of my workflow ends that for my business, for the agency side of things, there's nothing to me that takes the place of tactile traditional physical tools. It just
100%.
Right? And
100%.
And I need to create in that. And so while I can do both, I do all of my other stuff now in that way. And what I wanted to bring up real quick was, Scott, can you bring up Heaven Sent real quick? So, and this is an homage. This is an homage to a whole bunch of things, but this is after our interview. Scott, if you've got, no, it's Heaven Sent. It's Pepe Le Pew, Penelope, and the Three Dogs. So that one right there, if you can take that. So, and then I'm going to show Superbugs. I want my buddy Steve Finney to get on screen. And then, so, you know, Fabio, there, like I said, there's an infinite amount of things that I respect about you. And even in the short amount of time I've gotten to know you, you know, to where we did our first interview and then in this last year. And, you know, it's not just you as a human being and you as an artist and what you put into it, but it's all those things combined. So when I was doing this was the last piece that I did that was modeled off an actual cartoon background. Everything else now is modeled off to real life stuff that I've interacted with. And so what I love about this piece is this, to me, explains, you know, like how something so repulsive to someone else can be so attractive to somebody else, right? If you are who you are, right? So she thinks she's warding off the whatever, and yet that is so attractive to somebody else, like a Pepe Le Pew, right? Because he finds. So in this piece, like there's 2 baskets of fish. That's for the 2 of them. That's the relationship between husband and wife. There's 3 dogs because I have 3 dogs: Cat, Vision, and Thor. It's the Canine Avengers. And then there's 4 vases in there. Those are my 4 children. So I've got Aiden, Maya, Michaela, and Hunter. And in that piece, you can see this is me in this piece. To say, you know what, there's things about you there, and they're roses, because in the shop they're roses, but there's something beautiful about that in my kids blossoming into something that, you know, I don't even know what it is yet. So, and then my dogs, just, you know, that whole thing. I love dogs. So this is that piece, but all right, you're good now. Watching and getting to know you has inspired me to be more insightful and what was the word I'm looking for? Insightful is the one word, but like just much more direct in what I'm putting in, right? Like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this just to do it, or am I doing it not? And I don't do that in my client work. I have to explain to them why I do it. So why would I do that in my fine art? And I love everything you've done. You know that I blew your freaking messaging up on text and Instagram when you posted that May the 4th stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh. You know, and there's like, you're just a cool guy, right? You're a guy who's a fellow human being on this stuff. And we get along, we click, and you're so normal, you know. And I think people that see people that do, I'm going to say what you do, because I'm not at your level right now. People that do what you do at the level that you do it, think maybe it's kind of like on a different thing. And really, not only you are a normal guy, but you treat other people like people. And I treat other people like people. And I think that kind of thing is what endears me even more to you, and what inspires me in my artwork and all the stuff that I'm creating, to be like, hey, you need, intentional is the word. You need to be more, make sure you're intentional on what you're doing. Like, why are you doing things? Can you explain? You know, because Fabio can, and it's awesome, you know, and I get inspired off that. So I can't thank you enough for doing this, because you know, when you mentioned like, I'll do one if you do it, I'm like, I'm gonna call you on that. And then here you are, and like, I can't wait to come down to Florida, you know, and hang out and do the stuff. And
Sure.
I'm moving down there soon, man. So it's not too far off. But thank you so much. Thank you for allowing all of this. And Steve,
Yeah,
go ahead and grab that, Bugs.
this is fun, and you know, it's one of the things that when I as the popularity came across, and I've had people say to me, you know, like, why do you answer that person back, or why do you do this, and that's, you know, you're wasting your time doing that. And the reason I do it is because you really don't know, you know, you really don't know. My very first show here in Orlando, the very first girl that came to the little table that I was sitting at, I doodled on her thing. I took my time, explained it, and she came back. And there are some people that just stand in line for 2.5 hours and they don't buy anything, but they're standing for 2.5 hours. You can't leave that person to just walk away. They stood there because they either wanted to shake your hand or get a picture. So make sure that individual leaves with something that they can remember that event for. And, you know, I don't do those things for the sense of like, oh, let's hope this person comes back and buys an original or whatever. But it's funny how that one little kind gesture comes along and it comes back in good. Or that individual ends up getting a job somewhere, who knows somebody who then you're like, what? I did that for you 6 years ago, and they remember it. And I think it's good. It's a good feeling. It's good karma. And I, you know, starting in the art business, I was pretty green. I came from a tiny town in Maine with 460 something people in it. I grew up in a town with 3,200 people in it. So for me, I didn't have someone that could just go, listen, you shouldn't do that. You should be going this way, or maybe talk to this individual. I came across where once I got into this business, I thought, you know what, if another artist, whether it be an 8-year-old child or someone in their whatever, you know, that's trying to make it in the art business, if I can give them a little bit of advice, why not? What is that costing me? It's not costing me anything to write someone a suggestion, yeah, you know, or a direction, or, you know, give them. I've helped other artists try to get into galleries that I've worked with. Once I give you that point, that's up to you to carry the water. You know, if you don't, then that's, again, it's on you. But I want to help an individual, another artist, get into that position. So I think, you know, I think you and I both are very common that way, and it's good to incorporate life into art. And I realize that when you do that, you tend to tell the story of that piece a little more intense than you probably would something that was just randomly drawn. And I think people enjoy that. I think the collectors who are attracted to your art really want to know, like what you just said about the fish baskets and the four and the dogs, and you as Pepe Le Pew and your wife. And I think people want to see that. And the minute they look at that, I think they view art in a different way. They might have saw it as just a cartoon or just a scene, but now they start putting themselves into your artwork. And then the artwork no longer belongs your story. Sometimes it becomes theirs. And I think that's where the collecting and the admiration for what you do comes in. And
you know, and there's, as you can see, it's 90 degrees here, and it's kind of humid. I'm glistening, but I think it's maybe too much of this. So you're right. putting things into it makes, I know that I'm a collector of art. I collect your art, I collect Chuck's art, I collect so many things. And so it's something that I love, that aspect of things, and finding out something, because it endears me more to the art. So what I wanted to do was, my buddy Steve Finney, who is a major Bugs Bunny fan, Superman, and everything else. You can like duck so they can see your face, because there you go. All right. So the concept sketch goes with the original, right? And it's on Bristol, which is fun. It's a blue line. I like using a non-photo blue pencil, and then I'll do a black wing pencil over. So there's the concept sketch. It goes with the original. It's ChuckJonesCatalog.com / Ben Olson hyphen dot Ben Olson hyphen, yeah, he's got it. Ben Olson.
No, Ben hyphen.
Ben hyphen Olson. I forget it. I've had too much margaritas at this point. You get the pin, you get the sticker, you get a lot of stuff. Fabio is kind of like not like, why would you do all that? Yeah, look at all that. And this is coming out at the end of the year, so you're going to see that. So anyway, the concept sketch, which gets approved first, it has all the notes on it too, of what the title is, what the size is, what the medium is, and then you get the finished piece. I will also do a sketch for you, a gift with purchase, on 12F Acme Punch animation paper, whatever you want, Looney Tunes wise. And then you'll get the pin sticker combo as well, which is something that I'm building, because I'm just following after Fabio. Let's just face it. So you're being such a lovely model, Steve. So there you go. This is what's happening in this. This is to answer Jewel Brown. Where can I find this stuff? ChuckJonesCatalog.com. Scott, can you put on the lower third, please? Because I'm just slurring my words at this point.
There you go.
Ben hyphen Olson. And they even spelled it right, because it's not an EN, it's an ON. There we go. So this is the collection. You know what's funny about this is Scott will direct, and you'll probably see this because you're getting direct message privately also. They'll be like, dude, you need to like freaking move it along here, because this is like, let's get I'm like, I got it, Scott. It's good.
In all fairness, dude, whoever gets that original, the amount of extra stuff that you're giving is, anyway, you know how I feel. I think that's a great piece. The fact that you're giving the sketch along with it, and then another doodle on top of that, what a sweet deal. I feel like I'm on the big wheel right now, and crank it. I'm hoping for the
Well, and you know, the thing with it is, like, the concept sketch to me is that's my record that of what I've done. So I'm gifting that to somebody else. Like I'm including that with that, because I'm like, this is, you can see all the lines, you can see all the stuff underneath, and I geek out more on the sketches than I do anything else. So that's why I wanted to include that. So yes, there you go. Does that cover it, Mike? Scott Dicken, does that cover it? He'll just direct me and be like, yes. He knew. By the way, he knew what was going to happen. He knew.
Oh, he did. That's why I asked about the time. That's why I asked about the time. And when I said, you say, I thought it was going to go like 3 or 4 hours, and he was like, ha 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 ha. It's closer to what I said.
Right? We didn't even get to the Captain America suit, the Obi-Wan uniform, or the Trader Joe's butter waffle cookies, which are a guilty pleasure.
Part two.
I didn't even get
part two.
Right, part 2.
Next time, I'm just going to show up with just a bottle and a straw in it. And that's it. I was good. I'm gonna challenge you with your 62-ounce cup there.
Dude, you are so awesome. I can't even begin to describe it. Yeah, it's more like a 60 ounce. 62 that'd be overkill. Let's just keep it at 60 or under. Darnell, you do need a margarita that size. It is fantastic. I'm just commenting on the comments that are coming in. Cheers to you.
Yeah. That's my wife's dream right there.
Yes.
She loves margaritas. That's it.
So I'm gonna let you close it out, Fabio, because Scott's the hook here in a second. What do you want to say?
Well, it's for one, again, I'm honored that you reached out and wanted me to do this. Anytime Scott had also reached out, and the thought of saying no never even crossed my mind. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll do whatever you guys want me to. I'll be more than happy to do that. This is an honor. You're fantastic. You're a fantastic person. I've told you that on a personal basis, messages and stuff. I think what you do, not just, you know, on your own end, but what you do with the drops, what you do for Chuck Jones is outstanding. And my friend, I think you're just you're just going up from this point. I think your relationship with these guys is stellar. Your artwork is stellar. You're very unique in that sense. And man, I look forward to when you're down here and you know, we're having a couple of cocktails and talk about art, because there's a lot of things that you know that intrigued me in this conversation. I didn't know. I enjoyed this because I learned equally as much as the laughs I've had. I learned a lot too. So I've written a lot of names on this trusty piece of paper here. So that's when Google comes in and YouTube, and then I learn about the people you were speaking about because you got my curiosity. So this was a plus for me because I'm leaving with knowledge as well. And also, you know, we're working with you guys, and I don't care what Craig said. I love that piece right there.
Like, yeah,
it's gonna go right back in my living room. I don't care what he said.
Yeah, Craig, he's starting. Yeah, he'll drop off. He'll be fine. Like, you know, I'll leave it at. I find, you know, I know the design world, and I've known that for 13 years. The fine art world has been newer to me in the last year because of the amount that I've done. And you've been so generous with your comments and, you know, just our conversations, our frank conversations, you know, over the phone, text, and that kind of stuff. And you know the high level of respect that I have for you. I find it, I want to say to the collectors out there, you know, how much I appreciate you finding an interest in what I do in this and my creativity coming out in this, and then you finding something that you attach to means the world to me as a creative, because, you know, as Fabio, I'm sure can, you know, attest to, we do things, you know, because we feel something inside and then we get them out. And then for you to take that and feel something with it, and then to actually purchase something that we've done, to me is amazing. And it's something that I'm still trying to get used to. And I hope that I never really will, is that fact that there are people that collect your art, you know, and when they see you, and, you know, we're just human beings. We all do different things. I happen to just do art. You know, Fabio does art. We do things, and you find something in that. And I am so appreciative of you that you would find something, and then that you would actually purchase something to do that with, you know, to hang in your house or wherever it might go. It means the world to me, because it believe it or not, as confident as I may come off sometimes, it validates what I believe my purpose is, you know, and to create this stuff. And I'm sure Fabio can attest to the same thing.
Sure.
Thank you so much, you know, for doing, you know, for being a
my
part
pleasure.
Of yeah, and I love you, man. I really do. I love everybody that's been on. I hope you've had a good time. I hope you've had a few good laughs. And I know we've gone like way the freak over, but but it's been a blast. And again, to everybody out there, thank you so much for watching and taking the time. I know you've got, you know, so many other things to occupy what you have in life, but for you to hang out with Fabio and I, you know, means the world to me. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Take care, brother. And once again, thank you, everybody. I greatly appreciate those that came from my fan page over. Thank you. And we'll see you all around next time.
Yeah, buddy. Later, man.
All right. See you, brother.